I'm Josh Levine. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at EnergySage. We're a clean energy marketplace helping consumers electrify their homes. I've been here in the CMO for about 3 years. I'm about almost 20 years into a marketing career that has spanned from Procter Gamble to Google, and then I moved over into startups. Prior to this role, I was at a fintech startup and helped scale that to about $1 billion in assets under management. And here I am today. Prior to all of that, I was an officer in the U.S. Army for almost 6 years. So that was career number one, and I'm on career number two now.
Wow. Okay. We're definitely not gonna have enough time to get to all that awesome stuff that you've done, but we'll do our best. I mean, it already sounds like you've had multiple careers. Why marketing?
It's interesting. I fell into marketing. I actually fell in love with marketing, and then fell into it as a career. I left the military and went to business school. I thought leaving the military, going to business school, I would be the CFO of some defense contractor. And got to business school and sort of found that for myself, I found the hard skills were easy and the soft skills were hard. And that's what made marketing, fascinating and challenging for me. Certainly no knock on my finance friends, but I found a lot more engagement and challenge in trying to understand what moves people to make decisions, consumer psychology, behavioral economics, and the sort of the art of influencing and selling people a product that hopefully is something good for them and that they need. So I fell into marketing, fell in love with marketing, found it just endlessly fascinating. And it's something that I've stuck with because there's always a new puzzle. There's always a new challenge with each new category that I work in, whether I've worked in CPG, in tech, financial services, now clean energy, whether it was B2B or B2C. There's always a new challenge, always a new problem, a new product to launch, a new audience to address. And it's never the same problem to address. So I bring with me to each new role, kind of the skills and experiences I've developed along the way. But every new category, every new product is a new puzzle. So I feel like it's endlessly fascinating way to spend a career.
Mhm. Awesome. And when you served in the U.S. Army, was that before college or was that after?
Yep.
Or where did that fit?
So I was one of 6 ROTC cadets at Princeton University.
Oh.
So I was in ROTC there, and after graduation, went on to active duty. Pre 9/11, I was actually on active duty in
Wow.
Germany when 9/11 happened, and so I guess that dates me a bit. But
You
things
were only
changed.
3 when that happened, so
Things changed pretty significantly after that. So I was on active duty from 2000 to 2005 when I got out and went to business school.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your service, sir.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the folks that are still serving in challenging times.
Mhm. Yeah. Awesome. And then you got your MBA at Harvard, another very impressive accomplishment. Can you talk about how that has impacted your career, both I guess from a learning standpoint and relationships made while doing that?
Sure. I'll say a couple of things about that. And I'll connect it to marketing for just a second. There are there's an endless supply of people who are qualified to go to a place like Harvard Business School. Candidly, one of the reasons I got in was I was different. I was a different applicant. There may have been 60 military officers that applied that year, and maybe 20 got in. There were probably 6,000 consultants that applied, and and maybe 100 got in. So just being a different kind of applicant, and in the way, universities and graduate schools look at admissions, are always looking um, for students that will round out the population and add to the group, whether it's through their experiences, their background, or whatnot. And it was an early lesson for me in differentiation, quite frankly. And I carry that over to marketing because what makes you or your product stand out is by being different from the herd. Uh, so so that's just sort of one thing. I'll say, I think I was qualified, but also one of the things that helped me get in when plenty of qualified people aren't able to get into a place like that. Um, you know, I was also a classic career switcher. So a lot of folks go to an MBA for, people go to an MBA for various different reasons. Some people are in an industry where it's a rite of passage, or a credential that they need to continue to the next level in the field that they're in. But I was a classic career switcher coming out of the military. I was leading troops in armored units, so tanks and mounted infantry, to go into a civilian business career. So not really much I was going to take from the military, other than leadership and team building over into my civilian career. So I had a ton to learn. Certainly, I had a good time at business school, but I just soaked up the learning there and learned everything I could. And the last thing I'll say about that is, the network, obviously, of a place like HBS is invaluable. So, I call on peers and classmates all the time, and certainly the credential on the wall opens doors. I don't want to undersell that. But I think at the end of the day, it's my job to walk through those doors. So,
Yeah. Wow.
so
Incredible. Awesome. So, from there, it sounds like you worked with a lot of big brands that we're all familiar with, and then you decided to go more in the startup direction. Can you talk about what you learned with your time, with the big behemoths that you were able to, use to help startups scale like crazy?
Sure, absolutely. Marketing at Procter Gamble sort of invented brand management, and so it really was almost like a second master's degree for me. Even though I took in marketing classes at business school, I was almost like a second master's degree, and getting the chance to market on some of the biggest brands in the world. I worked on the Gillette brand primarily, but also spent time working in our retail channels on brands like Tide, Pampers, Crest. And so getting a chance to work on those amazing brands, you really get to know what right looks like and to practice the craft at a very high level. I sort of say, when you think about consumer packaged goods, if you can successfully market non-differentiated goop in a bottle, and help build that brand, help create demand for that product in a way that a consumer is saying, I want your goop in a bottle versus that group in a bottle. And I'm potentially willing to pay even more for it as well. If you can market in that environment, you can probably market almost anything. And so it was great to do that at P&G. I almost made the leap into startups after P&G. After 5 years at P&G, I had the inkling that I was better cut out for the startup environment than a big Fortune 50 company. But Google came calling, and I couldn't pass up the opportunity to work at Google, and learned a ton over there as well. So, my wife and I went out to the Bay Area. I joined Google, loved what I was doing, loved the business unit that I was working in. Actually, the business unit had a surprisingly underdeveloped marketing function for a company of that size. So I had the opportunity to sort of build some capabilities inside a larger organization, And that gave me the experience to say, you know what, I can build up a marketing function from scratch if I need to. And so after working at Google for 3 years, I took the leap and said, you know, I'm ready to move to startups. So moved to a startup called Alumni Ventures, which is essentially a direct-to-consumer venture capital fund. That's a complicated thing to explain, and I can go into it if you want to. But essentially, it's a direct-to-consumer fintech company, and essentially built the marketing function from scratch, and had a chance to was there while we scaled the company to $1 billion in assets under management before it was time for me to move on to my next role. But I have definitely found that I am a strong fit for an innovative environment. I love to build things. I've worked in a number of turnaround environments. Actually turned around a couple of units in the Army that were underperforming, and have found that even inside big companies and small companies, I really kind of feed on the energy of a turnaround. It allows me to build or rebuild, you know, an organization and a business that has challenges.
Wow. So it sounds like you're very good at differentiating yourself and any products that you're working on, and you do such a good job of it that they hire you, and then you do a great job, and then you're like, this, I need more of a challenge than this, and that's where the startup environment became your next path.
Yeah, I think that's true. You know, and there's always, you know, but there's always new things to work on. So, for example, you know, here at EnergySage, we're not just, you know, we're not sticking to the business that we're in. We're continually launching new products and new offerings to consumers, to our installer partners that we work with. And so for me, that's, you know, essentially kind of a startup within a startup, if you will. New product launches are a whole heck of a lot of fun. And, you know, evolving the brand to expand what the brand means to consumers is that kind of continuing to get to build things over and over again. I do have too much agita to sort of stand still. So as long as we're moving forward, that's a fascinating environment for me to be in.
Mm-hmm. Got it. I have worked with a lot of financial advisors, a lot of fintech companies from a marketing perspective, and you know, getting to 100 million assets under management, you're like, awesome. But you know, $1 billion, that's a big deal. Can you talk about how you accomplished that, or how you helped bring that
Sure.
about?
Sure. You know, I'll start with crediting the founder. You know, Mike Collins, who started Alumni Ventures, had a brilliant idea, and that was to create community around investing in startups that were, you know, founded by members of those communities. So, Alumni Ventures starts with, you know, is organized around kind of venture-backed investments from alumni of specific universities. Alumni from those universities invest as a group in those deals as part of a fund together. So, you know, first and foremost, you know, it's always helpful to have a brilliant product, and I can say throughout my career I've been lucky enough to but also I'd say choiceful to really only work on products I truly believe in. And certainly, I'm not going to lie, that makes my life a little easier to be able to take a great product to market. But, you know, once you've got a product you believe in, it's all about connection, right? You know, my job is to not sell someone something they don't need, but take a product that is truly beneficial and can really be beneficial and appealing to someone, and make that connection between that person and the product. Find that person where they are and help them understand the benefits of that product and why it was created to help them serve a need, serve a want, or accomplish a job to be done in their life. I've never worked towards selling someone something that they don't need, or a product that they don't think is or that I don't believe in. So it's really about making that connection, and that's going out and finding those people, understanding what makes them tick, what resonates with them, what their needs are, and then framing the offering and the benefits of that offering in a way that is compelling to them. It's not make things up and pitch them something that is not accurate. It's help them understand this product is multifaceted. It has multiple benefits. Well, I'll, depending on your profile and what you value, I'll lead with this benefit and sort of follow up with the other benefit or so. Or if it's a different profile, you often switch the order of that communication and find a way to connect with a different consumer. So.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I respect it. Using our powers for good.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. I mean, and honestly, that's how I got to EnergySage. I've loved all the brands and businesses that I've worked on at this stage of my career. Having a chance to work in the clean energy space, not just for the environmental aspects of it, because genuinely speaking, distributed energy like solar, like residential solar, is saving people a lot of money on their electric bills. And so there's so many benefits to it. I also have a couple of young kids, and it feels good to be able to explain to them, what I do and why I do it, and they're pretty excited about it. So using these powers for good is definitely something that's incredibly satisfying about this role and this company as a whole.
Yeah. Awesome. So with this AI usage ramping up and data centers going up, like they're the new Starbucks, and they're just a massive energy suck. Can sustainables, solar power, wind power, can they help with this? Can they help solve this problem?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a somewhat absolutist statement, but and then I'll walk back from it. Actually, renewables in particular are actually the only power generation source that can keep up with the growth in electricity demand that we're going to have over the next 5 or 10 years. And the reason is, and I'm gonna check my numbers here for a second. For example, China is installing over a gigawatt of solar every single day. Right? Solar is what you need to set up a solar farm. Is you need a piece of land, you need some local zoning, and the opportunity and a utility interconnection, right? And if you can do those things, you can put up as much solar as you need as fast as you need, right? It takes years, often more than a decade, to commission a new gas-fired power plant, right? It takes just as long to set up a coal plant. It takes over a decade to set up a new nuclear plant, to commission, design, install, and operate a new nuclear plant. So just the fact that we need all this electricity and we need it right now, it's not that it's renewable, it's not that it's clean, it's not that it's any of those things. It's the fact that solar is really simple and safe to deploy, and so it can go quickly. It's not about renewable or not renewable. It's just a matter of the technology and how complicated it is to stand up.
It's purely pragmatic.
Absolutely. And quite frankly, it's lower cost at this point. We have crossed the chasm. It's a lower cost electricity source than anything out there.
Wow. Awesome. Well, tell me why EnergySage was your next move?
So, the mission really appealed to me. Is the short answer, and that's what got me that's what got me to the table with EnergySage. We say our mission is to empower people everywhere to switch to affordable and reliable clean energy solutions. It's a great mission to be a part of. It's a great mission to, particularly in the environment that we're in today, help people gain energy independence from their utility, from spiking electricity costs around the country, and to produce their own power. There's something very independent, very self-reliant, quite frankly, very American about generating your own power, right, on your own roof, on your own land, um, and kind of hardening yourself against grid interruptions and natural disasters, but also becoming less reliant on utilities, which are sanctioned monopolies you really don't have any control over. So I enjoy that tremendously. The piece that sort of got me to sign on, if you will, is the people here are outstanding. Really smart, really dedicated, really fantastic people across all functions at this company, who believe in what they do, who are collaborative, intelligent, I'd say low ego, which is great. It just makes it an incredible environment to work in where we innovate, we take risks, we challenge each other, and come out better for it.
Mhm. That's awesome. Josh, this has been an outstanding interview. I could ask you questions for the next 3 hours, but I will respect your time. And well, we just have one final question for you.
Sure.
It is an open-ended question. You can go big, small, long, shorts. You can go personal. You can go business. You can answer it multiple ways. It is the name of the show. The question is, what are you working towards?
It's a great question. I think I'll work within, I'll answer that within the environment that and my current role. But I think it's applicable to all marketers and kind of their mission. I am working towards connection with our audience. A topic that keeps me, I don't say keeps me up at night, but fascinates me, is that we have constructed for ourselves a chaos environment of information. Whether it's alerts on our phone, whether it's social media, whether it's the news cycle and our news sources, we are bombarded by information, and I think it's well documented by people other than myself. Our attention spans are shrinking, and it is creating an environment of everything from mental health challenges to just a high degree of skepticism to conspiracy theories and things like that. And so when I think about my role as a marketer, it is always first and foremost, how do I cut through the noise for you as the consumer or the customer, give you a moment of peace and a second or two to consider something you need, something I'm trying to offer you, but to just have a moment of clarity, enough um, to assess something and decide whether or not to engage with it in a meaningful way. Because otherwise our attention span is just atomized all over the place. So sort of ever working towards, here it's a brand and a set of products that break through. But working towards connection is what is both, sort of meaningful in our personal lives, but essential as a brand and a business that's trying to connect with an audience.
Amen. And where can my audience find out more about you and EnergySage and everything you're working on?
I appreciate that. EnergySage.com, no spaces, just one word, EnergySage.com. I would encourage people to check out our latest endeavor around an owned media property we've launched called Plugged In. They can find it on YouTube. It's where my very talented team here, I give them all the credit, produces videos on, engaging videos on in-depth topics in clean energy and sustainability, often controversial ones. I can be found on LinkedIn if people are looking for me and want to connect. But yeah, EnergySage.com is the best place to go to find out more about what we're up to and maybe find some ways to save on everyone's energy bills.
Yeah, awesome. Josh, thank you so much for taking the time. You are an endlessly fascinating fellow. We'll definitely have to have you back on again down the road if you're up for it.
Chris, I appreciate the opportunity. It's great to meet you,
Sure.
and I appreciate spending the time with you.
Yeah, this is awesome. All right, and to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in, and keep on growing out there, everybody. See ya.